All right, she's back again. So you guys are going to see more than enough of me this weekend, right? Because I think I'm going to do some more videos tomorrow. So I don't know. It's great if you watch. So I got through that story. That was probably the harder part for me. Um, Sorry for any emotional outbursts. I think I stayed collected pretty well. Um, Anyhow, I need to continue. I have another story, and it's about her pregnancy term with me. So, hang on a second. I need to get some light right here. Uh, this needs to be on. Okay. Sorry about that. Real quick. Uh, let's see. What was I? Steve, Marcia, Scott, Mike, and Jane Shannon. Okay. Here we go. This is her fifth pregnancy term, and that would be me. So if you follow the story, which I hope you have, because to really make any sense of any of these videos, you probably need to listen to all of them. But I was the fifth born child in the family out of 12 children. So um, I'm kind of like right in the middle. And above me were four older brothers and no girls. Mother had not yet had her, well, she had given birth to a genetic female, but she didn't make it. So bear in mind what goes on in a childbearing mother's mind uh, during pregnancies and carrying the term of those children all the way through the delivery room. So here is what she wrote about this child, and this child's name was James Shannon, and my last name. So it's titled James Shannon. Michael was a year old before he allowed me to stop nursing, and Jimmy trotted along right behind this milestone. The fun part question of having kids back then was wondering for 9 months if it would be a boy or if it would be a girl. There was no such thing as an ultrasound or amniocentesis. People, including some doctors, would just stare at your stomach and declare it must be a boy if you carried it all in front, or a girl if you sort of spread out sideways and waddled. If you carried high, it was a boy. If you carried low, it was a girl. Mine just got lower and lower. Or wise old aunt would put her wedding ring on a string and hold it over your stomach. If it swung back and forth, it was a boy. If it swung in a circle, it was a girl. So much for modern medicine of the 50s. Anyway, I never knew what the outcome would be till I hit the delivery room. And I figured that after 3 boys, it was bound to be a girl this time. So, did you get that? It was bound to be a girl this time. This was my mother's train of thought, carrying me into the delivery room. One thing I was sure of, though, no doctor was going to use the saddle block procedure on me this time. So I went doctor shopping and decided to go with Juanita's osteopath, Dr. Henry, was his name. He promised no saddle block. He was friendly and jolly, and I decided I liked him, and that was that. Things went along smoothly, and one pretty day in May, I decided I was in labor. After all, I was an old pro at this, right? So I called the doctor and headed for the hospital. was checked and prepped and put to bed, where I turned over and went to sleep. Next thing I knew, it was morning, and Dr. Henry was standing in the doorway saying, "Gee, it doesn't look like she's in much pain, does she?" I was embarrassed. I had had false labor, so I went home and waited. A few days later the doctor called me to say he had to go out of town in a couple of days. And how did I feel about taking a nice dose of castor oil? Maybe it would grease the skids. More modern medicine at its best. So that's why I like to call Jimmy my castor oil baby. You know what castor oil is? It's fish oil. Horrible tasting, oily, vile fish oil. And mothers by the millions used to shove that cod liver oil down their kids' throats to keep them healthy. So I took the dose, and after a couple of hours, I couldn't really tell if I was having labor pains or a major gas attack. So we went back to the hospital, and sure enough, it worked, and there he was, another boy, long and skinny, with big hands and feet, and mad as hell. Looked like he was ready to throw rocks. I went home in a few days, and now I had two babies who like to sleep during the day and stare at me all night. Since Michael had kept me housebound for a year because he refused to take a bottle, I decided this one was big and strong enough to be a bottle baby, and maybe I would have a little freedom. Freedom? With four boys under the age of 5? Who was I kidding? It was a decision I lived to regret because Jimmy became allergic to most milk formulas. We tried different brands and even goat's milk, but he was plagued with eczema for months. It wasn't until we moved to Phoenix, when he was a year old, that his rashes finally went away. That was the summer my family visited from South Dakota. Dad and Megs, Jean, who had started nursing school, and Brian. Aunt Agnes came too, but she took a train, which derailed somewhere along the way. She had an injured arm and some bruises. People weren't so sue-happy then, so she didn't ask for any compensation, although I'm sure she could have. Aunt Celia was visiting Aunt Mammy in Whittier, so I have a picture of the 3 sisters and my dad that I took in front of our house that summer. When Jimmy was a year old and Lori just 3 weeks, we made the move to Phoenix. Jimmy, mobile now, became adventurous, and I was always pulling him out of the irrigation ditch. It only had about 2 feet of water in it most of the time, but I never knew what he was going to try. He was never happier than when we opened the irrigation gates and the yard was flooded. Then he learned to ride the tricycle and was gone. We didn't have sidewalks. We didn't have sidewalks in that block. My neighbor Carmilla brought him home one day. She came across him pedaling furiously up 12th Street, following a fire engine. After we moved to Scottsdale, I once found him and Bobby Langenberg walking up the middle of McDowell Road towards Scottsdale Road. Unlike Michael, who tended to disappear accidentally, Jimmy always seemed to know where he was going. So anyhow, that is a bit about my childbirth, and I'm going to just kind of summarize some things in the next video and tell you all what kind of correlation and what my thoughts are on some of this. Okay? So I will be right back. Bye.